Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about adding a slave to the S475 device, specifically regarding Modbus protocol communication and the operation to connect it to the cloud platform. First, we select the serial port and then log in. After successfully logging in, there is a RS485 setting option. S475 has two 485 interfaces, which can be configured as a master and a slave, or a slave and a transparent transmission, depending on our needs. Then, below are the baud rate, stop bits, parity bits, and whether there is odd parity. We set it as the master station. And then, we have an option here to add a slave device. Let's talk about Ethernet settings first. This part is the Ethernet slave station settings. It can connect up to 5 Modbus TCP slaves. Enter the slave's IP and port respectively. For example, we enter an IP and then enter 502. Click Save. After the prompt says it is written successfully, let's proceed to the slave settings. Enter this interface and right-click the mouse. There is a clear button here and an Add Slave option. First, select the channel source clearly. This is the most important step. If your slave is connected to RS4851, then select RS4851. If you are connected to Modbus TCP1, then select Ethernet IP1. Next is the slave serial number. This serial number does not need to be changed and is generally generated by default, such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then, we need to set the Modbus slave ID of the S475. You can choose it according to the ID of your sensor. The data types are Boolean, 6 bits, 32 bits and 64 bits. Choose according to your needs. Next is the function code and the starting address of the register. For example, I read a temperature sensor. It contains temperature and humidity. First, select 16 bits for the data bit, 03 for the function code, and 0 to start the register address. There are two mapping registers, then click OK. Next, we see its serial number, which is already fixed. Then this is the slave, data type, function code, register address, starting bit, quantity, mapped register address, and finally the source. The source is the channel that is close to it. For example, if RS4851 is used as the master, and we add a 32-bit data type, you can see that it corresponds to another register address, which is the mapped register address range. Its serial number is 2, and the slave address is 3. This refers to Modbus ID or Modbus slave ID or Modbus address. Next is the data type. Modbus function code, starting address. Quantity, mapping register address. Additionally, since 16-bit data includes both signed and unsigned types, you can right-click Edit Slave to select the appropriate data type. Enter the editing interface. The above are two tabs of signed data sorting, and the below are two tabs of unsigned data sorting. You can also set the slave alarm, SMS, and linkage relays. We just need to set it according to the properties of our own sensors. After setting, click OK. The same applies to 32-bit data types, which include more options such as long integer, signed, unsigned, and the following for our floating point types. After selecting, if you need a slave SMS alarm, you can also set it later. After setting, click OK. After adding the slave, click Save. After setting all parameters for the S475, be sure to shut down and restart the S475 device. We can reread the information of this slave. Next, read its single point value in the register list, since we don't have a sensor connected now. Its value usually shows 0 if a sensor is connected. We can see a reading here. This is a collection function. Then let's talk about the cloud platform device connecting to the server. First, let's look at the cellular network. The communication protocol is disabled by default. We can choose Modbus R2 protocol, MQTT protocol, Huawei Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, etc. Taking Modbus R2 as an example, we have two platforms with different protocols. If you connect to our 3.0 platform, click OK after selection. We only need to change the serial number and the APN parameters of the SIM card here. Other parameters do not need to be changed. This is a setting for connecting to our 3.0 platform. Then there is the Modbus protocol of the 2.0 platform. Its domain name, port and other parameters are set. We only need to change the serial number and the APN parameters of the SIM card. Additionally, this serial number needs to be purchased from a salesperson. Next, we choose the MQTT protocol and just fill in the device ID. Click Save. If you need to connect to your own server, click this to connect to other servers. Select the protocol first. If you choose the MQTT protocol, this is the APN parameter of the SIM card. Here are the domain name and port. Because two domain names cannot be connected at the same time, only one server cannot be connected. It will switch to server 2. Next is the heartbeat interval, number of connections, and overspeed time. Below, you can set the MQTT parameters of your server. This includes setting the device ID, server connection details, user password, publishing and subscription topics, reporting intervals, and retransmission function. In the network port settings, after the S475 is connected to the router, it can automatically obtain an IP address or use a fixed IP address. Set Ethernet state to open and select the protocol. The default mode is TCP. The port 502 refers to the device network port that supports the Modbus TCP slave function. Here you can set its IP address. then the number of server connections and the heartbeat time. Below you can set the server IP and port. This is server 1. This is server 2. If you choose the Modbus R2 protocol, you only need to set this part. If you choose MQTT protocol, we need to set the server IP, port and MQTT parameters. These are mainly the functions of the network port. Thank you for watching.